Victoria's life began as a paradox. Blessed with a beauty so extraordinary it was also her greatest curse. From the very moment she was born, the unthinkable happened. Anyone who laid eyes on her face perished instantly. The hospital staff, visitors, and even strangers who merely glanced her way met the same grim fate. Only her parents, driven by unconditional love and unimaginable fear, survived to witness her miraculous yet tragic existence. Determined to shield their daughter and protect the world from her lethal beauty, they chose a life of isolation for her. Raised in solitude, Victoria's mind blossomed in the confines of her home. Her mother homeschooled her, filling her days with books and puzzles, nurturing a prodigious intellect. She mastered mathematics, devoured literature, and solved problems with an ease that baffled even her parents. Yet for all her brilliance, Victoria longed for something her isolated life could never offer: companionship. Her laughter never echoed with the voices of friends, and the joy of playing under the sun remained a distant dream. By her 18th birthday, her parents knew the time had come for Victoria to step into the world, though the risk terrified them. They crafted a plan to protect others, layers of cloth wrapped tightly around her face, revealing only her eyes. This veil became her shield, safeguarding everyone she encountered from her devastating allure. With trepidation, she set off for university, carrying the weight of her curse like an invisible chain. At university, Victoria's exceptional mind quickly earned her a reputation. She aced every test, finished assignments in record time, and left her professors in awe of her abilities. But admiration from her peers came alongside whispers of curiosity and ridicule. Why did she cover her face? Was she scarred, disfigured, or simply eccentric? Among her detractors, Bella, the campus bully, stood out. Bella relished being the center of attention, and her sharp tongue spared no one. Victoria became her favorite target. "What's under that mask, Victoria? Scars? Or just something too ugly for the world to see?" Bella taunted, her laughter ringing through the crowd that always seemed to gather around her. Victoria's calm demeanor only fueled Bella's antagonism. She would answer softly, "You wouldn't want to see my face." But her warnings were met with sneers. Bella's persistence grew, her challenges more public. Every day she demanded Victoria reveal her face, turning the veiled girl into an unwilling spectacle. Yet Victoria stood firm, her silence masking the fear of what could happen if Bella ever got her way. The rumors spread like wildfire. Some speculated that Victoria was hiding a horrible deformity. Others whispered she might be cursed. The mystery surrounding her only added to Bella's determination to uncover the truth. But Victoria remained unfazed, focused on her studies, refusing to let the gossip derail her. Enter Joshua, the most handsome and charismatic student on campus. With his easy smile and confident charm, he was the heartthrob of the university. Girls swooned in his presence, but he kept his distance, enjoying the attention without committing to anyone. Bella, ever scheming, saw in Joshua an opportunity to escalate her torment of Victoria. One day, Bella approached Joshua during lunch, her flirtatious demeanor masking her cruel intentions. "Hey Josh," she began, flipping her hair with practiced grace. "I need your help with something fun." Joshua smirked, leaning back in his chair. "What kind of trouble are you stirring up now, Bella?" "It's about that weird girl, Victoria," Bella replied, her tone dripping with mockery. "You know, the one who hides behind all those cloths?" Joshua nodded. "Yeah, I've seen her around. What about her?" Bella leaned in conspiratorially. "I want you to get close to her. Pretend you're her friend, gain her trust. Then when the time is right, get her to take off that ridiculous cover and snap a picture. We'll finally show everyone what she's hiding." Joshua frowned, clearly uneasy. "Why do you care?" "She's not bothering anyone," Bella scoffed, rolling her eyes. "She walks around like she's better than everyone else, hiding her face like it's some big secret. I bet she's hiding something ugly. I just want to show the world the truth." Though Joshua hesitated, Bella's relentless persuasion and manipulative charm made it hard to refuse. Reluctantly, he agreed, setting in motion a plan that would unravel in ways none of them could foresee. Would Victoria's secret finally come to light? Or would Bella's cruel game unleash consequences far beyond her control? The stage was set for an extraordinary revelation, one that would change all their lives forever. Bella had a knack for manipulating people, and Joshua, despite his reservations, found himself agreeing to her plan. He told himself it wouldn't be difficult. Victoria was quiet, reserved, and seemingly starved for companionship. Befriending her would be simple, or so he thought. His first step was to sit near her in lectures, feigning interest in what the professor was saying while occasionally casting her a friendly smile. At first, Victoria barely acknowledged his presence. Years of isolation had taught her to ignore people, especially those who might mock her. Joshua's persistence, however, caught her attention. He wasn't like the others. He didn't tease her, didn't whisper behind her back. His demeanor seemed genuinely kind, though she remained suspicious. One afternoon, Joshua approached her in the library, a disarming smile on his face. "Hey," he greeted, his tone casual yet warm. "You're Victoria, right?" Victoria glanced up, her eyes meeting his from behind the fabric that hid her face. "Yes," she replied cautiously. "Can I help you?" Joshua leaned back in his chair, keeping his tone light. "I've noticed you around. You seem different, interesting even. I thought we could be friends." Her brows furrowed in disbelief. Friends? No one had ever expressed such an interest in her before. Most people avoided her altogether, and those who didn't often had cruel intentions. "Why would you want to be friends with me?" she asked, her voice edged with skepticism. Joshua chuckled softly. "Why not? You're smart and you don't follow the crowd. I think that's pretty cool." Victoria didn't reply. She couldn't bring herself to trust him just yet, but his approach was disarming. He didn't mock her, didn't make her feel small. For now, she decided to keep her guard up, but let him linger at the edges of her solitude. In the days that followed, Joshua continued his quiet campaign to win her trust. He sat beside her in class, walked alongside her after lectures, and even brought her small gestures of kindness. A candy bar here, a bottle of juice there. Slowly but surely, Victoria began to let her walls down. For the first time in her life, she shared pieces of herself with someone. She spoke of her favorite books, her passion for science, and the small joys she found in learning. Joshua listened intently, his charm working its way into her defenses. Yet beneath his smile, a conflict brewed. He felt genuine guilt for deceiving her, for the plan Bella had coerced him into. But every time he considered backing out, Bella's mocking words echoed in his mind, pushing him forward. One evening, Joshua suggested they study together in her dorm room. "You're so brilliant, Victoria," he said with a grin. "I could really use your help with some of these assignments." Victoria hesitated, but eventually agreed. Maybe, just maybe, she had finally found a real friend. She even made tea for him, a small gesture of hospitality she had rarely offered anyone before. As she turned her back to grab a book, Joshua slipped a packet of powder into her tea, a sleeping drug Bella had given him. "Here," he said, handing her the cup with an easy smile. "You deserve a break." Victoria accepted the tea, unaware of his deceit. They talked for a while, but soon her eyelids grew heavy. "I think I'm getting sleepy," she murmured, stifling a yawn. Joshua nodded, his expression feigning concern. "You've been working so hard. Get some rest. I'll pack up and leave." Within minutes, Victoria was fast asleep. Joshua sat still, his heart pounding in his chest. The guilt gnawed at him, but he felt trapped by Bella's demands. Slowly, he approached her bed, his hands trembling as he reached for the cloth that covered her face. Knot by knot, he untied it, his heart racing with every movement. Finally, the fabric fell away, and Joshua froze. What he saw was beyond anything he could have imagined. Victoria's beauty was otherworldly, mesmerizing in a way that defied logic. It wasn't just her physical appearance. There was an unexplainable allure, a force that drew him in, overpowering his senses. But as he stood there, captivated, an overwhelming darkness descended upon him. His chest tightened, his vision blurred, and his knees buckled. The sheer intensity of her beauty was too much for his body to handle. Within seconds, Joshua collapsed to the floor, lifeless. Moments later, Victoria stirred, feeling groggy. She sat up, her gaze falling on the cloth lying on the floor. Panic gripped her as she looked around the room and spotted Joshua's motionless body. "Joshua?" she whispered, crawling toward him. She shook his shoulder, but he didn't move. Her heart sank as the truth hit her like a tidal wave. He had seen her face, and now he was gone. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she hastily tied the cloth back over her head. "Why did you do this, Joshua?" she sobbed. "Why didn't you listen?" The commotion drew the attention of nearby students, and soon someone opened her door, only to be met with the sight of Joshua's lifeless body. Screams erupted, and within moments, security and the police arrived. Victoria sat by Joshua's side, her face once again hidden. When the officers questioned her, her voice trembled as she explained, "He saw my face. That's all it takes. I didn't mean to hurt him. I warned everyone, but no one believed me." The officers were skeptical, but intrigued. Rumors of Victoria's curse had circulated for years, dismissed by most as mere gossip. After speaking with her parents and piecing together the events, they concluded she wasn't a criminal. "This isn't murder," one officer whispered to another. "She's not doing this intentionally. It's something else." Victoria was released later that night, her parents holding her tightly as she sobbed into their arms. "I don't want to hurt anyone else," she whispered. "Maybe I should just stay away from everyone. Forever." Her mother, with tears in her own eyes, gently replied, "You can't run from the world, Victoria. I know you're scared, but you've worked so hard to get here. Don't let this stop you. You have to keep going." Victoria lowered her gaze, her heart heavy with guilt and uncertainty. How could she move forward when her very existence posed a danger to everyone around her? The path ahead seemed impossible, yet deep inside, a spark of hope flickered. Fragile, but alive. Victoria's world seemed to be unraveling before her eyes. "Mom, it's just so hard," she confessed, her voice trembling. "People stare at me like I'm some kind of freak, and they'll never understand. What if someone sees my face again and something terrible happens?" Her mother took her hand gently, her eyes filled with understanding. "I know how afraid you are, sweetheart, but you can't let that fear dictate your life. You've worked so hard to get here, and you deserve to finish school for yourself. People might stare, they might say cruel things, but none of that defines who you are. You're strong, and you have so much to offer the world." Victoria wiped a tear from her cheek. "But what about Bella? She's always been so cruel to me. She's bullied me for as long as I can remember. How do I deal with someone like her?" Her mother smiled softly, brushing Victoria's hair back. "You don't let people like Bella win, my love. People who bully others often feel small inside, and they try to bring others down to make themselves feel better. Don't give her the satisfaction of reacting to her words. Focus on your path, your goals, and the incredible person you are becoming. You control your own story." Victoria nodded slowly, her mother's words settling into her heart. It wasn't going to be easy, but she knew she had to try. "I'll do my best, Mom," she said with a small smile. "I don't want to hide anymore." Her mother pulled her into a warm embrace. "That's my girl. You're capable of so much more than you realize, and I'll be here to support you every step of the way." The next day, Victoria returned to school with a renewed determination. Her nerves were still there, but her resolve to face her fears was stronger. She walked through the hallways with her head slightly lowered, hoping to avoid unnecessary attention. When she entered the library, however, she immediately spotted Bella sitting with her usual group of friends. Bella's eyes lit up the moment she saw Victoria, and she stood, sauntering over with an air of superiority. "Well, well, well," Bella sneered loudly, ensuring everyone could hear. "Here comes the ugly killer. Did your rich parents pay off the police to keep you out of jail? I'm sure that's the only reason you're still walking around." Victoria's heart pounded, but she forced herself to keep walking. She tried to ignore Bella, but the bully wasn't finished. "You think you're so special just because you have money?" Bella continued, her voice dripping with mockery. "You're nothing but a monster hiding behind that ridiculous cloth. If it weren't for your parents' money, you'd be locked up right now." Victoria stopped in her tracks, her hands trembling. She had tried to avoid confrontation, but Bella's words cut deep. Slowly, she turned to face her tormentor, meeting Bella's gaze with steady determination. "At least I'm not like you, Bella," Victoria said firmly. "You've spent all your time chasing after boys and trying to make yourself feel important. What does that make you? A joke." Bella's face flushed red with anger. "It's none of your business who I date," she snapped. "And I don't care what you think. At least I'm not hiding from the world like a coward." Victoria stood her ground. "I'm not ashamed of who I am, and I don't need to tear others down to feel better about myself. Maybe if you spent more time in class and less time chasing popularity, you'd actually graduate." For a moment, Bella was silent, caught off guard by Victoria's words. Then with a scoff, she turned and stormed back to her group of friends, who were giggling behind their hands. Victoria took a deep breath, her heart racing. She had stood up for herself, and though it had been difficult, it felt empowering. A week later, the school was buzzing with whispers about a new arrival. Dennis, a tall, handsome boy with a confident smile and warm, friendly eyes, had just transferred. He quickly became the talk of the school, capturing the attention of nearly every girl with his charm. When Bella saw Dennis for the first time, her eyes lit up with determination. "I must have him," she declared to her friends. "He's perfect." Some of her friends nodded in agreement, but a few rolled their eyes. They were growing tired of Bella's endless schemes to win over every attractive boy she met. The next day, Bella made her move. She approached Dennis in the hallway, her friends trailing behind her. "Hey, Dennis," she said sweetly, flashing him her most charming smile. "I noticed you're new here. How about we become friends? I can show you around, help you settle in." Dennis glanced at her briefly, then continued walking without a word. Bella froze, her smile faltering as her friends began to snicker behind her. She had been ignored, something that almost never happened to her. Her cheeks flushed with embarrassment, but she quickly recovered. "He's just playing hard to get," she muttered, loud enough for her friends to hear. "Don't worry, I'll get him." Men always act like they're not interested at first, but they come around eventually. Her friends exchanged doubtful glances but said nothing. They had seen this pattern before. Bella always believed she could have any guy she wanted, but not every plan worked out in her favor. "I'm not giving up," Bella continued, her voice full of determination. "If he doesn't come to me, I'll find a way to get him. Maybe I'll even use my money to sweeten the deal. A guy like that probably isn't from a wealthy family. He'd be easy to win over with the right incentives. But But Dennis wasn't like the boys Bella was used to, and her schemes were about to take a turn she didn't expect. Bella was not one to accept defeat easily. Her reputation thrived on getting what she wanted, and she wasn't about to let Dennis slip away without a fight. But as her jealousy brewed, something unexpected was happening. Dennis was growing closer to Victoria. Dennis found Victoria's quiet intelligence and kind demeanor refreshing. She didn't crave attention or popularity. She was genuine, and her curiosity about the world fascinated him. During breaks, they would sit together, discussing everything from books to science. Her passion for learning and the way she explained things captivated him. Slowly, their friendship deepened, and Dennis began to admire her more with each passing day. Not everyone was thrilled with their growing bond. Dennis's friends couldn't understand his interest in Victoria, an outsider who didn't fit into their social circle. "Why are you hanging out with her?" they questioned. "She's weird, man. Not your type." But Dennis wasn't swayed by their remarks. He valued Victoria's authenticity and refused to let their opinions dictate his choices. When Bella caught wind of Dennis and Victoria's friendship, she was livid. The boy she had been tirelessly pursuing had gravitated toward the one person she loathed the most. Consumed by jealousy, Bella stormed up to Victoria in the middle of the hallway. "You think you're so clever, don't you?" Bella hissed, standing inches from Victoria. "You're a witch using your tricks to steal my man away from me." Victoria laughed, shaking her head. "Your man?" she asked with a smirk. "You're delusional. Dennis doesn't even know you exist. Keep dreaming." Bella's face turned crimson with fury. "Don't act like you're better than me," she spat. "You don't belong here. You're nothing but a freak hiding behind that cloth." Victoria met Bella's glare without flinching. "I'm not here to play games or chase relationships," she said firmly. "I'm here to study and build a future for myself. Maybe you should try that sometime instead of spending all your energy trying to impress boys. You've been at this school for years and still haven't graduated. What does that say about you?" Bella's eyes widened in shock. She was used to people cowering under her insults, but Victoria was standing tall, unshaken by her venomous words. "You'll regret this," Bella sneered, her voice low and threatening. "You think you're so perfect, but you're not. I'll make sure you pay for this." Victoria shrugged. "Go ahead, Bella. Do whatever you want. I'm not afraid of you." Bella stared at her, realization dawning that her usual intimidation tactics weren't working. Frustrated and humiliated, she turned on her heel and stormed off, leaving Victoria standing tall and unbroken. When Victoria got home that evening, she felt a mix of emotions. She was proud of herself for standing up to Bella, but also weary from the confrontation. She retreated to her room, reflecting on the day's events. After a while, she joined her mother in the kitchen, where the comforting aroma of dinner filled the air. Her mother smiled warmly as she entered. "How was school today, dear?" Victoria sighed, sitting at the table. "Mom, graduation is coming soon, and I've been thinking a lot about it. I want to look elegant that day, with nice makeup. For once, I don't want to hide my face. I'm so tired of it. I just want to feel normal, like everyone else." Her mother's smile faded slightly as she listened. "I understand how you feel, Victoria," she said gently. "But we've talked about this before, haven't we?" Victoria nodded, her eyes cast downward. "I know, but I feel like I can't keep running away from it. I want to live a normal life. I don't want to hide anymore." Her mother reached out, taking her hand in hers. "Do you remember what the prophet told us years ago?" Victoria's stomach tightened. The words of the prophet had haunted her for years, a reminder of the weight she carried. "Yes, Mom. The prophet said the curse will only break when I find someone who truly loves me. Someone who loves me for who I am, not for anything else. But how am I supposed to wait for that? What if it never happens? What if I'm alone forever?" Her voice cracked as tears welled up in her eyes, but she fought to hold them back. Her mother pulled her into a comforting embrace. "Don't think that way, my dear," her mother said softly. "You can't rush something like love. The right person will come into your life when the time is right. Until then, focus on what truly matters: your studies, your dreams, your future. Love will find you when you're ready, not when you're searching for it." Victoria felt a sense of comfort in her mother's words, but the ache in her heart remained. She had dedicated so much of her life to hiding, to avoiding human connection, that the idea of living openly felt both terrifying and liberating. "I just don't want to live like this anymore," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I want to be seen for who I really am, not for this curse that controls my life." Her mother held her tightly, wishing she could take away her daughter's pain. "You're stronger than you think, Victoria. Your time will come. Until then, keep being the incredible person you are." Victoria nodded, though her heart still felt heavy. She knew her mother was right, but the road ahead seemed daunting. All she could do was take it one day at a time, hoping that someday The curse that had defined her life would finally be broken. Victoria's voice wavered as she confided in her mother. I feel like I've been hiding forever, but there's someone at school. His name is Dennis. We're just friends. He's kind and we talk sometimes, but I know I can't let it be more than that. With this curse, I can't let anyone get too close. Her mother gave her a warm, understanding smile. I'm glad you have a friend like Dennis. It's important to have people who care about you, even if it's just friendship. But remember, you don't need to let it become more than that unless you're ready. Right now, focus on yourself. Don't let anyone pressure you into something you're not comfortable with. Victoria nodded but still felt the weight of uncertainty. It's not just Dennis. Bella is always coming after me, trying to make me feel small. She keeps talking about him like he belongs to her. I don't even want to deal with her, but she's always creating drama. All because of a boy. Her mother chuckled lightly. Bella doesn't understand you, Victoria. She's chasing the wrong kind of attention, trying to fill a void she doesn't even realize is there. Don't let her bring you down. You're worth so much more than the nonsense she offers. Victoria allowed herself a small smile. I know, Mom, but sometimes I just wish things were easier. I wish I didn't have to hide my face. I want people to see the real me. Her mother reached out and took her hand. You are already perfect as you are, my dear. You don't need anyone else's approval to feel happy. And when the time is right, the right person will see you for who you truly are and love you unconditionally. At school, the tension between Bella and Victoria had reached a boiling point. Bella, unable to tolerate Dennis's indifference and Victoria's growing confidence, was determined to have the last word. She spotted Victoria sitting calmly by the cafeteria, reading a book. With her entourage in tow, Bella marched over, her voice loud enough to draw a crowd. Madame Face Cover, Bella called out, her words dripping with mockery. Graduation is in 2 weeks. Are you still planning to hide that ugly face under that rag? Or will you finally show us what you look like? Or are you afraid the whole school will faint from the horror? Victoria glanced up slowly, closing her book with deliberate calm. She stood and faced Bella, her piercing gaze meeting the bully's sneer. A crowd of students had gathered, eager for the drama that was sure to unfold. Victoria smirked, her tone light but cutting. Thank God graduation is finally here. After all these years, Bella, you're finally leaving. I was starting to think you were planning to live here forever. The students erupted in laughter and Bella's face flushed crimson. But Victoria wasn't finished. Let me guess, Victoria continued smoothly, crossing her arms. You must have bribed the lecturers or done something else to finally get this far. It's the only explanation for why someone like you, who's been here since the Stone Age, is suddenly graduating. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the crowd. Bella's jaw dropped. But before she could retort, Victoria raised a finger to silence her. And don't pretend you're some high-class girl, Bella, Victoria said, her voice unwavering. Everyone knows your parents are struggling back in that little village while you're here acting like you're someone you're not. All you've done is bully people to distract from your own insecurities. Bella's friends exchanged uneasy glances, whispering among themselves as the crowd began to murmur. Oh, and let's not forget, Victoria added with a sharp edge, that so-called luxurious lifestyle you flaunt. Everyone knows it's funded by your sugar daddies. You're not a queen, Bella. You're just a fake, hiding behind your own lies. The crowd burst into uncontrollable laughter, some students recording the scene on their phones. Bella's face twisted with rage and humiliation. Tears welled in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. You don't know what you're talking about, Bella screamed, her voice cracking. You think you're better than me because of that stupid face cover? You're nothing, Victoria, nothing. Victoria shrugged, her expression calm. If I'm nothing, then what does that make you? A jealous, bitter little girl who can't stand to see someone else shine. Good luck with your sugar daddies, Bella. Maybe one of them will finally buy you some self-respect. Bella couldn't take it anymore. She stormed off, her face burning with shame, as the crowd erupted into applause. Some of her friends quietly slipped away, unwilling to be associated with her any longer. That was legendary, Victoria, one student said as the applause subsided. You really put her in her place. Victoria gave a small nod, picked up her book, and walked away, her head held high. Meanwhile, Bella's desperation to win Dennis's attention had reached new heights. She tried everything: tight dresses, exaggerated walks, even feigned helplessness in her schoolwork. But Dennis remained uninterested. One day, Bella cornered him near the cafeteria. Dennis, she said sweetly, flipping her hair in a practiced motion. I don't understand why you're wasting your time with that face-covering girl. You and I could be the hottest couple in school. Don't you see it? Dennis sighed, his frustration evident. Bella, can you stop embarrassing yourself? I don't like you. I never will. You're always chasing after boys, causing drama, and thinking you're better than everyone else. It's pathetic. The words hit Bella like a slap. She stood frozen, her carefully crafted confidence crumbling. Students nearby, having overheard the exchange, began whispering and giggling. For once, Bella had no comeback. She turned and fled, her face red with humiliation. Later that evening, Dennis found Victoria sitting under a tree, her favorite spot on campus. "Victoria," he said softly, sitting down beside her. "I need to tell you something," Dennis continued, his voice calm but serious. Victoria glanced at him, her eyes soft but cautious behind the fabric that shielded her face. "What is it, Dennis?" He hesitated for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about you, actually. You're one of the most amazing people I've ever met. Smart, kind, and real. You're not like anyone else here. You don't care about impressing people or playing games. You're just you." Victoria's heart raced at his words, but she quickly lowered her gaze. "Dennis, I don't think you understand," she said softly. "There are things about me you don't know. Things you can't know. It's not safe for you to—" "Victoria," Dennis interrupted gently, his voice firm but filled with warmth. "I don't care what you're hiding. Whatever it is, it doesn't change who you are. I don't want you to feel like you have to keep pushing people away, like you have to go through life alone. I'm here, and I want to be here." Her hands clenched tightly around her book as she struggled to find the right words. "You don't understand, Dennis. My life, it's not like yours. It's dangerous for people to get close to me. It's better this way." Dennis leaned closer, his sincerity shining through. "I don't believe that, Victoria. You deserve to be seen, to be understood, and to be cared for. You've spent so long building walls around yourself, but I want to help you break them down." Victoria's throat tightened as a wave of emotions washed over her. No one had ever spoken to her like this, with such genuine kindness and acceptance, but her fears still lingered. "You don't know what you're asking for," she said quietly. "I've hurt people before, not because I wanted to, but because I had no choice. I can't risk that happening to you." Dennis smiled softly. "I trust you, Victoria, and I know you'd never hurt me on purpose. Let me be your friend, maybe even more than that if you're ready. But if not, I'll still be here for you, no matter what." For the first time in a long while, Victoria felt a flicker of hope. She didn't know what the future held, or if she could ever truly let someone into her life. But in that moment, Dennis's words planted a seed of courage in her heart. "Thank you," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper, "for being different." Dennis smiled. "You're worth it, Victoria. Every bit of it." As they sat together under the tree, the world around them seemed to fade, leaving only the quiet connection they shared. For Victoria, it was a moment she would cherish, a glimpse of the life she had always dreamed of, but never believed she could have. Victoria looked at Dennis, her confusion evident. "What's going on?" she asked softly. "Nothing's wrong," Dennis said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I've just been thinking about something for a long time, and I need to tell you." Victoria tilted her head, curiosity and apprehension mixing in her gaze. "What is it?" Dennis took a deep breath. "I love you," he said simply. "I don't care about the face cover, the rumors, or what anyone else thinks. You're kind, brilliant, and unlike anyone I've ever met. I don't need to see your face to know how amazing you are." Victoria's heart pounded in her chest. She stepped back slightly, unsure how to respond. "Dennis, you say that now, but what if I'm not what you expect? What if—" She hesitated, lowering her voice. "What if I'm ugly? I don't care," Dennis said firmly, cutting her off. "You are beautiful to me, Victoria. Not because of what's on the outside, but because of who you are. You're enough. You've always been enough." His words hung in the air, carrying a weight that Victoria wasn't sure she could hold. Still, something in his tone, his sincerity, made her feel safe. When he invited her to spend time at his apartment that weekend, she hesitated, but eventually agreed. At Dennis's apartment, the hours passed effortlessly. They talked, laughed, and shared stories, opening up to one another in ways neither of them had before. For the first time, Victoria felt truly seen, not as an enigma or a mystery to solve, but as a person. As the evening wore on, Dennis leaned in and kissed her gently. It was a moment of pure connection, unburdened by her fears. But in that moment, Dennis's hand accidentally brushed against her face covering, causing it to slip off. Victoria gasped, her hands flying up to shield her face. She pulled away, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Not again," she whispered, her voice trembling with panic. "I can't let this happen again. You're going to die, Dennis. I've killed you." But Dennis didn't move. He didn't flinch, didn't collapse. He simply sat there, looking at her with the same warmth and kindness he always had. "Victoria," he said softly, "I'm fine. See? I'm still here." Victoria lowered her hands slowly, staring at him in disbelief. How is this possible? Everyone who's ever seen my face has—" She couldn't finish the sentence, her voice breaking. Dennis smiled gently. "I told you, Victoria. I love you. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's why the curse doesn't affect me." The tears that fell from Victoria's eyes now were different. Tears of joy, relief, and hope. She threw her arms around Dennis, holding him tightly. For the first time, she felt like the walls around her life were crumbling, revealing a world she thought she'd never experience. When she returned home that night, Victoria couldn't wait to tell her mother. She burst into the kitchen, her voice trembling with excitement. "Mom," she said, "Dennis saw my face. He saw me. And nothing happened to him. He's alive. And he told me he loves me. I think the curse is broken." Her mother's eyes filled with tears as she embraced Victoria. "My darling," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I have waited for this day. You found someone who truly loves you. God has answered our prayers, and now you are free." The next morning, Victoria walked into school with a new sense of purpose. For the first time in her life, she decided to remove the cover from her face. She stepped onto the school grounds, her heart racing but her head held high. Students stopped in their tracks, their whispers rippling through the air like a wave. "Is that Victoria?" one murmured. "She's beautiful," another said, staring in awe. Victoria's classmates couldn't believe their eyes. Bella, who had just stepped out of the cafeteria, froze mid-step, her jaw dropping. She stared at Victoria, her voice dripping with disbelief. "This is what you've been hiding." Victoria smiled, her confidence unwavering. "Yes, Bella, this is me. Maybe next time you'll think twice before judging someone you don't know." The students erupted into applause, their cheers filling the air. For the first time in her life, Victoria felt truly free. Free from the weight of the curse, free from judgment, and free to live as her authentic self. The story ended not just with Victoria's liberation, but with a powerful message of love and acceptance. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic and heartfelt tale? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you never miss our latest updates. Thank you for watching, and stay blessed.